Most people believe wealth is primarily about how much money someone earns. The assumption feels intuitive because income is visible. Salaries can be compared. Luxury purchases can be observed. Expensive lifestyles create the appearance of financial success. But beneath the surface of modern finance, truly wealthy people often think about money very differently from the average consumer. Their focus is not centered entirely on income. It is centered on protecting cash flow. This distinction sounds subtle at first, but over time it changes almost everything. A high income without protected cash flow can create a surprisingly fragile financial life. Someone earning large amounts of money may still experience constant pressure if their financial system continuously leaks resources through recurring obligations. Mortgages expand. Car payments multiply. Subscription services accumulate. Luxury lifestyles become emotionally normalized. Eventually large incomes become trapped inside equally large spending structures. From the outside, these people appear financially powerful. Internally, many remain dependent on uninterrupted income simply to maintain stability. This is one of the strangest psychological traps in modern economies. Rising income often creates rising lifestyle expectations at nearly the same speed. Instead of building flexibility, higher earnings sometimes build larger dependency systems. The individual feels richer temporarily while simultaneously becoming more financially fragile underneath. Wealthy people who sustain financial resilience across decades often behave differently. They become unusually protective over recurring cash flow because they understand something most people overlook: freedom is not created only by earning more money. Freedom is created by controlling how much of future income remains permanently obligated. That difference matters enormously. A person earning $100,000 while spending 90,000 lives inside a very different reality from someone earning the same amount while spending 50,000. The external appearance may look similar. Internally, one system contains far more optionality, resilience, and investment capacity. Cash flow determines how much economic energy remains available after survival obligations are satisfied. And once people begin thinking in those terms, financial behavior changes dramatically. Modern consumer economies are designed around capturing future cash flow. Financing systems allow people to consume today by committing future income streams tomorrow. Monthly payments become psychologically normalized because the immediate expense appears smaller than the total long-term obligation. Cars, furniture, phones, homes, vacations, entertainment systems, and even food consumption increasingly operate through recurring payment structures. The brain experiences these decisions emotionally in the present moment while largely ignoring the cumulative pressure building across years. This is why people can feel financially trapped even while earning historically high incomes. The problem is not always insufficient earnings. Often the problem is that future cash flow has already been heavily assigned before income even arrives. Wealthy investors, business owners, and financially resilient individuals frequently develop the opposite instinct. They become cautious about permanently increasing fixed expenses because fixed obligations reduce future flexibility. Every recurring payment becomes a claim on future labor, future opportunity, and future optionality. That does not mean wealthy people never spend money. They often spend very aggressively in areas they value. But there is usually a structural difference between controlled discretionary spending and permanently expanding mandatory expenses. One creates temporary consumption. The other creates recurring dependency. This distinction becomes especially important during economic instability. Recessions reveal the hidden architecture of personal finance very quickly. When layoffs rise, markets fall, or industries contract, individuals with highly optimized lifestyles often discover how little margin actually exists beneath the surface. Large fixed obligations become psychologically dangerous because they remove adaptability precisely when adaptability matters most. Meanwhile, individuals with protected cash flow often maintain far greater stability even if their total income temporarily declines. Cash flow functions almost like financial oxygen. When obligations remain low relative to incoming resources, people gain room to think clearly, take calculated risks, invest during downturns, or navigate uncertainty without immediate panic. This is one reason financially resilient people often appear calmer during economic volatility. Their systems contain margin. Margin itself becomes a form of wealth. Historically, this principle appears repeatedly across different economic eras. Merchant families protected trade liquidity carefully because survival depended on maintaining flexibility during unstable markets. Industrial businesses preserved cash reserves to survive contractions. Investors who maintained available capital during financial panics were often able to purchase valuable assets while others were forced into liquidation. The pattern repeats because economic systems constantly reward flexibility during periods of instability. But psychologically, protecting cash flow feels counterintuitive in consumer cultures built around visible status. Modern advertising rarely encourages people to preserve optionality. It encourages immediate lifestyle expansion. Social comparison intensifies the pressure further because consumption is publicly visible while financial resilience remains mostly invisible. Someone driving an expensive vehicle appears successful externally even if the underlying financial structure supporting it is extremely fragile. Meanwhile, someone quietly building investments, avoiding unnecessary obligations, and protecting recurring cash flow may appear financially ordinary despite possessing far greater long-term security. This creates a dangerous illusion where appearance and resilience become disconnected. The modern economy often rewards visible consumption socially while rewarding invisible discipline financially. That tension shapes much of modern financial psychology. There is also a deeper mathematical reason wealthy people protect cash flow aggressively. Excess cash flow becomes productive capital. Productive capital can purchase assets. Assets can generate future income. And future income can eventually reduce dependence on labor entirely. This creates a compounding cycle. Someone consistently preserving investable cash flow is not simply saving money. They are gradually purchasing future autonomy. Each retained dollar becomes potential ownership capable of producing future economic value. The opposite process compounds as well. Every unnecessary recurring obligation reduces future investment capacity. Every financing structure pulls future income into present consumption. Every lifestyle expansion raises the baseline cost of maintaining stability. Over long periods, these recurring decisions shape dramatically different financial trajectories even among people with similar earnings. This is why wealth often accelerates quietly rather than dramatically. Many financially resilient individuals do not experience one explosive breakthrough. Instead, they repeatedly protect cash flow while consistently directing excess capital into productive ownership systems over long periods of time. The process feels slow initially because the effects accumulate gradually beneath the surface. But eventually the structure changes. Investment income begins covering larger portions of living expenses. Economic pressure declines. Optionality increases. Risk tolerance changes. Work becomes less connected to survival and more connected to preference. And perhaps most importantly, time itself begins feeling different. Someone entirely dependent on continuous labor income experiences time under constant economic pressure. Missed paychecks create danger. Economic downturns create fear. Career instability threatens survival directly. Someone with protected cash flow and accumulated productive assets experiences a different relationship with uncertainty. They possess financial breathing room. And breathing room changes decision-making quality enormously. This is why protecting cash flow is ultimately about far more than budgeting. It is about preserving future flexibility before life becomes structurally rigid. Most people think financial freedom comes primarily from earning extraordinary amounts of money. Sometimes it does. But historically, financial resilience has often emerged from a quieter process, consistently maintaining margin while gradually accumulating productive ownership across long periods of time. The irony is that this process rarely looks impressive while it is happening. It looks conservative. Slow. Ordinary. Sometimes even unnecessarily cautious. But beneath the surface, protected cash flow quietly creates one of the most powerful forces inside economic systems, the ability to survive volatility long enough for compounding to work. And over decades, that difference can quietly separate temporary income from lasting wealth.